So hey everyone, hi. So in this video we're going to talk about slot. So what this let's see why this slot came up into the picture. So the slot came up into the picture is like, let's say you wanted to define something inside your component, but you don't want to hard code it or create, define props every time, like title, description. You want it to be dynamic. You wanted what I want inside it, I want it to show here. So how this work is, let's see an example of it. So let's see in our blog post also, what I've done is, whatever I write here, I want it to be shown. Now how this is happening is, if you see, it's showing up, right? So if why is it happening is because I've used something called vslot. So if I remove this, I want to, let's say, I want to give it a description. So let's say I write here description, and I want it to be appearing like this is what I'm giving it, and I want it to be appearing everywhere. So instead of again defining this title props separately, what we do is we just type slot, and that's it. Everything whatever we write here now, so let's say I give a description. See, now I let's give it a what I say, main content something. Yeah, so it's coming everywhere. So yeah, this is how we're giving. But now the thing here is, let's say if I don't give anything here, I want to display some item. So what I will do is, I will write something here, give it some slots. So if I'm not giving anything slots, it will give you it, we can show her the fallback data here. And as soon as I give it, so if I do if I write it back description, the see the default fallback got it went. So this is how you can give it. Now the next thing which I want to talk about is called named props. By named props I mean, let's imagine a scenario where this blog post which you see, like, it can have a header, it can have a content, it can have a footer. How we will manage that? Well, we can do that by using the templates. So if you see this template, we have the header. Like, I've created three templates, but what I've did is I've named it as header, default, and footer. Okay, now in this header I want to have the header shown, and in the main content I want to show the main content. In the footer it can have the action buttons or something. Okay, now I want this to be shown here. But if you see, by default slot, the our main content is showing. Why it is happening? Because the default slot automatically takes the default one, which is this one, and it whatever you render here, it will show exactly same here. But now what about this one? How can I get the header and footer? So let's imagine this. So what I do is, let's say you have created a div, okay, and you are giving it as id header, and it has its own custom styling. So I want the slot to appear here, and I want to call it name as header. Now if you see, header is coming inside this header. Right now, similar to that, I create one more div, and I give an id as footer. It has its own custom styling, and I render the same. Name is equals to footer. So now all our header, footer will come together. So let me just check why is this is not rendering. Oh well, I got it. I forgot to close it, and I just removed this. Okay, now things are good. So now we have header, main content, footer everywhere. Now once we've completed this, now let's imagine a scenario where from the, like, all this time we are passing data from the parent to the child, right? And now let's imagine a scenario where I want to pass some data. Let's say const header, and let's call it as, I just keep it aside, I'm just disabling this. So header title, uh, I can give this header title as ref. So uh, title from child, Let's say this is a header title. Now let me just write it header id, and now I'm writing it as id from the child. Now let's say I want to access these two things from the child here. How will I do that? um Now you might be thinking like, okay, with the props or with the image we were able to do it, but what about the slots? How we will do it from the slots? Well, there is a way. So I just make it clear. Okay, so now what I do is, inside this name header and inside this footer, so well, I think if this is quite confusing you, let's see one of the example also which I've created side by side. So because this is creating a lot of mess, right? So we will take the same example here. We have defined this our component here, right? So I have defined some variable here, and then I'm giving these variables here. Okay, and then how I'm accessing it is, I just directly do in the mustache syntax, and I directly access those value with the help of this v slot. So it's not required that v slot, you can also access it through the hash syntax. So let's do the same here also. So here we are into our blog post, right? Now here what I do, I want this header title to be sent. So what I can do here is now, mm, this is our footer, this is our header, and this is our default title. So similar to this which which we saw here, now what we can do is, inside this slot, so let's say from the header, uh, to the header only, I want to give it uh, let's say title, and this title is equals to header title, and then I want to give it an id that is nothing but header id. Yeah, I think this is matching. Yep, this is matching. Now once I've passed this header, I want to access this header, okay, inside this. So as I said, best syntax is, you can use the header. If I type header here, and you can see it doesn't shows up anything. So if I type here, let's say I call it as uh, h data. Okay, so the data which we got, let's call it as h data. Now if I try to see, h data got, now h data is shown everywhere, right? So I can say now this cool header has a title which is nothing but h data with an id that is also h data dot id, and this dot title. So this is cool, right? Now you are getting data for this only from here. So this is how you can get, and set like how you can use the slots in a very good way, and you can communicate from your children to your app, and yeah, you can access the data from the child also. See you in the next video, guys. Have a nice day.